that was one. Dear children, today's topic is operon. Now coming to an operon. This concept was given by Jacob and Monod in 1961. They proposed the operon hypothesis for the genetic control of protein synthesis in E. coli. What is an operon? It is just a part of DNA, but it contains a cluster of structural genes, which can be more than one, because this concept is in a prokaryote, that is E. coli. And in E. coli, what they synthesize is a polycistronic mRNA, which codes for more than one polypeptide chain. So this cluster of structural genes, their expression is controlled by a single promoter and a single regulatory gene, and that we will see subsequently. Operons can be divided into two types. One is inducible operon. Inducible meaning normally in this type of operon the genes remain switched off, shut down, but when required they will be switched on in presence of an inducer. For example, lac operon, and lac stands for lactose, and in this case normally lactose is not needed by the cell, so the genes remain switched off. But when glucose is not present and lactose is present in the cell medium, then the genes are switched on. Another type is repressible operon, in which the genes are normally active and they continue the synthesis of that product, but the functioning will be stopped when the concentration of that end product becomes very high, and that end product is going to shut the system down, shut the genes, switch off the genes, and because that end product will act as a co-repressor and bind to the repressor and then bind to the operator and shut the system down. For example, trypt operon, tryptophan, where there will be synthesis of the amino acid, that is tryptophan. So lac operon generally operates lactose. This operon in which lactose will be split into galactose and glucose. So it occurs in catabolic reaction. So there is splitting here. But in trypt operon there will be synthesis of tryptophan, amino acid tryptophan, and when the end products of tryptophan increases and accumulates, that is going to switch off the genes. So that is repressible operon. Now coming to the next part, that is inducible operon or lac operon, which is in your NCERT book. So what did we say? What an inducible? That means normally the genes will be switched off, remain switched off, but will become operational in presence of an inducer, and here the inducer will be lactose. And generally it functions in catabolic pathways, because in this operon what is going to happen? Lactose will be split into glucose and galactose, and that's going to provide energy to E. coli, to the cell. Now coming to what are the parts of an inducible operon system. So various parts will be: first, one regulatory gene or I gene, inhibitor gene, and that is going to code for the repressor of the lac operon. Second, next to it will be the promoter gene, which we have read in the transcription unit, to which the RNA polymerase binds. Third part of the operon system will be the operator gene next to the promoter, and it's the place where the repressor will bind and stop transcription. And next to this will be the structural genes, and in case of lac operon there are three structural genes: lac Z, lac Y and lac A, and that is going to transcribe a polycistronic mRNA. And then other parts will be the repressor protein that is synthesized by the regulatory gene, and that is going to bind to the operator and stop transcription. And inducer will be needing if we want to switch on the genes, and that can be a metabolite, that can be a hormone or a substrate. In lac operon, the inducer is the substrate lactose. So in this figure we have showing an operon, which we just said what it is: a cluster of structural genes controlled by a single operator and a single regulatory genes. And what are the parts? Structural genes, 3: LAC-Z, LAC-Y and LAC-A, and that is going to synthesize a polycistronic mRNA. Next to the structural genes will be the operator, and to the operator what is going to bind will be the repressor that is synthesized by the regulatory gene. So this regulatory gene will synthesize a repressor protein, and that's going to bind to the operator. And next to the operator will be the promoter region, as and you know, to the promoter region RNA polymerase binds. And adjacent to this is a regulatory gene or the inhibitor gene, and that is going to produce a mRNA that is going to synthesize a repressor protein. So these are the parts of a operon. So the structural genes are controlled by a single promoter, and the regulatory genes have their own promoter. Now coming to the functioning. What is the mechanism of lac operon? First, in absence of the inducer. So if glucose is present in the culture medium, obviously they don't need lactose, so the lac operon remains silent or switched off. How do the genes remain switched off? Here the regulatory gene or the I gene always produces an mRNA, and if a gene always produces an mRNA, we say what are they? Constitutive genes. So here the regulatory genes will always be producing an mRNA, and that is going to synthesize a repressor protein, irrespective whether the inducer is present in the culture medium or it is absent. So always they are going to synthesize an mRNA that will always form a repressor protein, and that repressor protein will bind to the operator gene. And when the repressor protein binds to the operator gene, as a result RNA polymerase cannot bind to the promoter, and if RNA polymerase cannot bind to the promoter, therefore the structural genes will not be transcribed, there will be no transcription, and the operon will remain switched off. And this regulation of lac operon by a repressor is referred to as negative regulation, because they are going to switch off, stop transcription. So this is referred to as negative regulation. Now in the next slide we are showing this in the figure form. So this is the operon, where you have the 3 structural genes, LAC-Z, LAC-Y and LAC-A. Next to it, this is the operator, this is the promoter, and this is the regulatory gene. As just now we said, the regulatory gene will always, that is, it's the constitutive gene, always synthesize an mRNA. Here we call it as a repressor mRNA, because this is going to translate into a protein which we refer to as a repressor protein. And this repressor protein will bind where? To the operator region, which lies next to the promoter region. As a result of this binding of the repressor to the operator, RNA polymerase cannot bind to the promoter region. And if RNA polymerase cannot bind here, there will be no transcription of the structural genes. So that's what's this written here. Repressor binds to the operator, prevents RNA polymerase from transcribing the operon. So the genes remain switched off in absence of the inducer. Now to the next, coming to in presence of an inducer. Now in absence of glucose, that means if glucose is not present in the culture medium where the cells are growing, and we provide them with lactose, the operon will be induced, that is switched on. But if both are present, if glucose is also present and lactose is also present in the culture medium, still at that time the operon will be switched off. It will not be induced, because at that time the cell is going to use glucose, not lactose. So that's why this is important. In absence of glucose, when cells are provided with lactose, the operon is induced, that is switched on. and that means lactose is present in the culture medium, a few lactose molecules will be carried into the cell, because the lactose here acts as an inducer, and this will be carried by the membrane bound transport, that this same protein, that is lactose permease. So this protein is going to transport lactose from the culture medium into the cell. Now the few lactose molecules that enter the cell are converted into an isomer of lactose, that is allolactose, and it acts as an inducer. So it is an isomer because lactose is made up of, it's a disaccharide made up of glucose and galactose. Galactose will be linked to glucose, and the linkage is between 1 to 4, that means first carbon will be linked to the fourth carbon. But in allolactose, the linkage will be 1 to 6, that is first carbon will be of galactose will be linked to sixth carbon of the glucose. Now this inducer, that is allolactose, will bind to the repressor protein. Where is the repressor protein present? It is attached to the operator region of the operon. As a result, RNA polymerase cannot bind to the promoter. So this repressor protein has two sites. One site for binding to the DNA, for binding to the operator region of the DNA, and another site it has for binding with the inducer. So lactose will bind to the repressor protein. As a result of this binding, as a result of formation of this complex, that is repressor inducer complex, protein, this repressor protein will undergo a conformational change. That means it is going to change its shape slightly. As a result, this can no longer attach to the DNA. It will detach from the operator region of the DNA. So this repressor inducer complex will detach from the operator, and when this repressor detaches from the operator, as a result RNA polymerase binds to the promoter and transcription starts. And what we are going to have, a polycistronic mRNA will be formed, and that is going to transcribe three enzymes. First will be beta galactosidase, and that will be coded by lac gene Z. And what is the function of this enzyme? That is going to break lactose into glucose and galactose, that will be used by the cell. Adjacent to this is lac Y gene, and that is going to synthesize the membrane bound protein, the enzyme lactose permease. Function will be that is going to transport more lactose into the cell. Third gene which we have, structural gene, that is lac A gene, that is going to synthesize the third enzyme, that is trans acetylase. And what is the function of trans acetylase? It is going to add acetyl groups to sugars which is not needed by the E. coli, non-metabolizable sugars, that is you have glucosides, you have alpha galactosides. So such sugars will be attached by acetyl groups. As a result, they will not be metabolized. But acetyl groups will be not attached to the lactose, and that will be metabolized and used by the cell. And all the three enzymes, that is beta galactosidase, lactose permease, and trans acetylase, will be required for metabolism of lactose. Now, how does the cell sense whether glucose is present in the culture medium or not? That will be with the help of this cyclic AMP. So when glucose is less in the culture medium, cyclic AMP concentration will increase, and this is going to bind to another regulatory protein that is called as CAP, catabolite activator protein. This cyclic AMP will get attached to CAP, and this CAP and the cyclic AMP will attach to the promoter. And as a result of this attachment of this activator protein, that is CAP and the cyclic AMP, then RNA polymerase will attach to the promoter and start transcription. This is referred to as positive regulation. But if glucose concentration is high, then in the culture medium, then cyclic AMP concentration will decrease, because in presence of high levels of glucose, the enzyme cyclic AMP will be converted into back to AMP with the help of the enzyme phosphodiesterase. Since when the concentration of cyclic AMP will decrease in presence of high glucose levels, obviously this cyclic AMP will not attach to CAP. So this complex CAP cyclic AMP will not attach to the promoter, and as a result RNA polymerase cannot attach to the promoter, and there will be no transcription in presence of high glucose levels in the culture medium. That is how E. coli senses whether there is glucose in the culture medium or not, and which is the hunger signal in case of E. coli, that is cyclic AMP. That's going to determine whether transcription will take place or not, in whether in the culture medium there is glucose or not. And if high levels of glucose are there, there will be no transcription, but if lactose is there of the lact genes, then there will be transcription of the lact genes. And this activator protein, since it stimulates transcription, this is referred to as positive regulation. So in case of lac-operon, we have seen repressor stopping transcription by getting repressor protein, stopping transcription by getting attached to the operator, so that is referred to as negative regulation. But this activator protein getting attached to the promoter and stimulating transcription, this is referred to as positive regulation. So in this figure we are showing is the functioning of the lac-operon in presence of an inducer. So we have, as we said before, regulatory gene will always synthesize a repressor mRNA irrespective whether the inducer is present in the culture medium or not, and that will be always translated into a repressor protein. So we said in absence of glucose in the culture medium, but in presence of lactose, that a few molecules of lactose will enter the cell, and this repressor, where it is present attached to the operator region, because it's going to stop transcription in absence of inducer. Now when this inducer will enter the cell, it will get attached to the repressor, and when it gets attached to the repressor will undergo a conformational change in shape. As a result, it will get detached from the operator region. Then RNA polymerase will bind to the promoter and start transcription of a polycistronic mRNA, and that is going to synthesize the three enzymes beta galactosidase, permease, lactose permease, and trans-acetylase. Function of beta galactosidase: splitting of lactose into glucose and galactose. Permease: transporting more lactose into the cell from the culture medium. Trans-acetylase: attachment of acetyl groups to the other sugars, not to lactose, so that it is not utilized by the cell. So that was all